Hey, it's Monica. Welcome to the Attract Clients Now Marketing Secrets podcast, the podcast for coaches, healers, and online service providers who are ready to build a business you love and that loves you back. It's time to choose the path of a trailblazing business owner and build your own business trail. Let's attract clients now. Hey, welcome back to the Attract Clients Now Marketing Secrets podcast. I'm Monica. I'm your host. So glad to have you here this week. This week, we're going to talk about outsourcing and top hiring secrets. Okay, so outsourcing and top hiring secrets. And we're really going to be talking about this within the realm of solopreneurs or really small teams and what it's like to outsource or hire really that first admin marketing person. I know there's a bazillion things out there that you can outsource and hire for, but specifically this week, we're going to be talking about more in the marketing, business, and organizational realm. So let's get started. I had a great question yesterday from my friend Beth, who is an amazing networker. You've got to check her out. I'll link her group in the show notes. She said, Monica, when should a business hire their first person, their first virtual assistant, or their first helper? We were talking about the cycles of business and business growth. And when do I hire my first person? And what was funny is I paused and looked at her and I said, I think about it exactly opposite. For me, I hired my first person before I made my first dollars. For me, having a admin, having someone on my team was and has been a non-negotiable since day one of business. And she goes, why? And so I want to start by talking about the why did I hire somebody right off the bat? And why do I suggest you hire someone really before you're ready? So that's going to be the first part today. And then we're going to talk about outsourcing specific tasks, such as websites, marketing, business services, and things like that. And then at the end, I'm going to give you some tips on how to navigate that. If you guys have any questions about this or want to discuss it in more detail, please do come over to the Attract Clients Now Facebook group. You can post in there anytime, ask me any questions. You're welcome to promote your business in there. It's a really open, friendly environment. We're also opening our Business Growth Collective, and this membership it's really going to be game changing, right? So I know everybody says that crap all the time, but this really is going to be the next evolution of what we're looking at within our solopreneur small businesses, trying to operate primarily online and really creating that collaborative community. And so this outsourcing and hiring really ties into that because I believe strongly that we should each use our genius. If you're a genius at painting, you shouldn't be a genius at marketing. I'm a genius at marketing. I'm terrible at organizing. So how can we use the who's in our life to optimize all of our businesses, to come together and really create a cohesive, larger than life, larger than we look businesses that we can really facilitate anything and I'll live within our geniuses, because if we build businesses that we hate, like I'd rather get a job. So we love building businesses that we love and they'll love us back, right? So let's get started with that question from Beth about when do I hire? Here's a couple of reasons why I believe in hiring earlier than later. One, you are not a genius at everything. Well, maybe you are. I'm not. I knew right away that I'm not a great admin. I'm not really great at keeping files where they're supposed to go, at knowing who needs what and what needs. I'm an idea person. I want you to come at me with your spider webs and I want to clear them up and tell you how to do them. And then I need a team behind me to implement them. And so right away, I wanted to hire a virtual assistant, an admin, somebody who can come alongside me early on in my business and guide me to create processes and systems that are going to continue to grow, but that I am optimizing and scaling as I go. For example, we started recording everything that I was doing. So if I went in to schedule an email, instead of just scheduling an email, I would make a video of me scheduling my email. Why did I push that button? How does this work? Why did I do my copy? Because then guess what? Next time I can give her the copy and she can go send the email. And I can use my time to do something that can generate even more income and honestly, even more pleasure and even more energy. Right. So that was my first hire was a virtual assistant. Her name was Kit. I still hold her dear in my heart. She worked with me for a couple of years and then her husband went back to work full time and she wanted to stay home with her son. And so I still wish her well. She took really great care of me. So that's one reason is don't outspend yourself. I'm not saying get a $75 an hour VA, but get somebody that can help keep you organized, even if it's 5 hours a week. The second reason that I believe in hiring before you're ready is when you've taken on too many clients and you're in that like hyperventilation state of like, holy crap, I don't know how I'm going to handle all this. That's not the time to hire someone. That's a terrible time to hire someone. When you're in that state and you bring somebody on, this is what it looks like. Oh my God, there's water all over the floor and the ceiling's falling in. Can you please help me keep the ceiling from falling in? And while I've done that because we've grown too fast and I've had to hire at the last minute, it's certainly not optimal. So my goal is always to hire in that sweet spot where I almost need them, but I have enough time also to work with them. Because here's the thing, if you're going to have somebody work in your business for you, with you, but for you, you're in charge. And so it's your responsibility to onboard them, to train them, also to trust them to guide you. But yes, somebody say, well, it takes me longer to tell somebody else how to do it than to do it myself. Okay, cool. But the thousandth thing that you've done like that, you've now made it where you can't scale, where your time is so contracted that you just can't breathe. And that's not the kind of business we're trying to build. So I believe that for me, my cost of my team is a baseline cost. Yes, I've upped and down based on where my business levels are, but it's a non-negotiable for me. I know that I need that support. So how can you know that you need 5 hours a week or 5 hours a month? Have somebody that's in your corner. I'll tell you the truth too. Sometimes you're going to go get another client because you're like, crap, I got to pay their salary bill, right? So that can really be a motivator too. So that's really my tip for when to hire. And when I'm talking about hiring, I'm using it in air quotes. You can't see my air quotes if you're listening to the podcast. So when I talk about hiring in air quotes, I am not a attorney or any of those hiring accountant people. Terrible at that stuff. So I will just disclaim by saying that hiring can look like a lot of different things. So hiring can look like it being a 1099 contractor. It can look like a W-2 employee. And it can look like project based. So you pay them for 12 weeks or 8 weeks to get you organized and to get your stuff together. So there's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of little laws in there. I'm happy to tell you what I know, but I don't know everything. But there's a couple of ways to do that. And it doesn't have to be an extraordinary expense to have your first virtual assistant. So that's really my tips on that. The next thing that I want to talk about is the outsourcing of tasks. So, what's the difference between outsourcing and hiring? It doesn't have to be different in that if I had a contractor virtual assistant, I am outsourcing some of my work. When I use the word outsourcing, I'm typically thinking of this. I'm thinking of a scenario where you need X thing done. You need a website built. You need a logo. You need social media every single month. You need your podcast edited and uploaded and stuff. You need services and you don't want to bring those services in-house. You want to have an expert who can help guide. So it's more of a peer type relationship as opposed to my admin is like my employee, right? I'm hiring a website expert, a podcast expert to help me navigate and take care of this either on a project basis or on a retainer month to month basis. So with outsourcing, I got a lot of feelings too. This is something that really is the bread and butter of our company as a marketing agency. Other companies outsource their marketing to us. In addition, I often work as what I call a fractional CMO, a chief marketing officer. So You can buy Monica to come into your business, and I'm going to act like an arm of your business. I'm going to act like your marketing executive, which means I'm going to think about you in the shower and while I'm at dinner. Compared to if I was just doing your social media, I'm still going to think about you in the shower, but I'm not in charge of your strategy. I'm more of implementing what you want to do. And so that really comes down to the core of outsourcing. What do you need? What do you want when you're outsourcing something? Bottom line is most people don't know what they need or want and end up buying something that isn't what they need or want. We might have to make another whole episode on this, but I will talk briefly about it now. Feel free to ask me some questions. What comes to mind first is to tell you some pitfalls and how I usually suggest to work with those. One pitfall that I see is a business owner who is, let's just use an example of a creative, very creative, and they use the quote unquote, I'm terrible at marketing. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to build my website. Somebody do it for me. And this person doesn't really understand the core pieces of, let's just use the website. They don't understand website. And so they just know they want one and they want a pretty one. And so they go out and often will find someone on Fiverr or Upwork that goes, I'm good at websites and I'm cheap. Hire me. And they go, okay, you're cheap. You look like you do a pretty good job. You've got a good portfolio. I'll hire you. And what that business owner doesn't know hurts them. And so, what do I mean by that? Most of the time, when you hire somebody to build a website, or I'm going to hire a website developer, that person generally, just saying generally, is contracted to put the words that you give them on the page. Sometimes they'll make you some graphics. Sometimes you're even responsible for the graphics. So, really, they're taking all of the things that you give them and putting them on the website. Their job is to make the website work. And there's a lot of pieces of a website working that most people aren't aware of. So, this creative gives this person a lot of words that don't have SEO credibility. They aren't structured with decent SEO. Now, you don't have to have great SEO, that's search engine optimization. And so they end up with a website that really doesn't look all that great. And they're like, why does this website look bad? And if they gave the web developer a misspelled word, guess what? The misspelled word is on the website. That's not what they're getting paid to do. And you didn't know that. And the hardest part of this is that website developer is not in charge of helping you develop a strategy. That website converts and brings in customers and does what your clients need it to do. They don't ask you the questions like, what do you need this to integrate with? Do you need a learning management system? Are you going to have a membership? They don't, like, that's not what their role is. I'm not saying there's not people out there who do that. I'm just saying, like, if you just go Fiverr, build me a website, that's probably what you're going to get is somebody who isn't going to help you with the strategy. And also, that creative feels vulnerable. Often they feel embarrassed that they don't understand websites. They're really looking for the knight in shining armor to come over and take this away from me, like fix this for me, make this better for me. And they don't have the guidance to not only fix what they need to on the website, but also to overcome their own feelings about it. And so then when it launches, they're just let down and they felt like, I did not get what I paid for here. What do you do instead? Let's just go back to the Fiverr example. I think sites like Fiverr and Upwork are fabulous. I've used them. I think they're great. I think that mostly the people that are on those sites are made for business owners who know what they want. They really understand what it is they're asking for. They know how to really spec out or scope out their project, and they need one thing done. So, for example, if I needed somebody just to fix XYZ, I would go to Fiverr. I understand how to fix XYZ, but I don't want to. And I get missing a little of the technical, but I get it. I'm going to hire somebody to go do that. The goal of Upwork and Fiverr is to be really specific. And when you're a creative business owner, any business owner, I'm just using creative as the example here. And I'm not saying creatives aren't great at tech. I'm just saying a lot of my clients that are creatives are usually not the ones that are like, and Monica, I'd like to go fix my own DNS records. That's just usually not who comes to me. So you go on Fiverr and You are just trying to get what you need, and you don't get that sales call and you don't get that experience, and you're not getting the full expanse, and you don't even know it. So I think that those sites are really great for what they are. Next, I would say that hiring your own person. So, like, we have web developers and we have graphic designers on staff that we pay. With contractors, you need to know how to speak the language. And for example, with the web developer, they are more like engineers, very specific. They like to read documentation. They'll sit around and read some of those articles that you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know these words, right? The web developer is meant to be a very technical person. Typically, they're not amazing strategists. They certainly are not copywriters, and they're not graphic designers, and they're not web designers sometimes. They're just developers. They're there to put the code on the page that someone gives them. So a lot of people that are hiring and outsourcing specific tasks really don't understand all of the skill levels that come into play, and then they're disappointed because they didn't get it because they didn't know. So I think one thing that I love to do is I love to educate my audience. And for example, what we do as an agency is I'm your strategist. I can real talk with you. I'm going to help you figure out what it is you need, why you need it. I'm going to probably tell you don't need half the stuff that you think you do. And we're going to strategize that first. We're going to come up with a tech plan. We're going to build something that you're going to be able to edit later. You're going to understand later, and that's going to be financially viable for you. Then we're going to bring in branding. Then we're going to bring in the graphic designer. You're probably never even going to talk to the web developer. Then I'm going to talk to the web developer, and we're going to develop an entire project for you. And this can be true of any marketing agency, a lot of web development firms. There's a ton of firms out there that do it this way. But when you're getting a service that you don't understand, please educate yourself, pay a little more, get the expert. Maybe it's the mid-level expert, but get the expert on that so that you have somebody to hold your hand and help you through this. Even as simple as copy. I was talking to a client today. She said, well, I've got a friend who's a copywriter and she's going to fix my SEO. And I said, well, not all copywriters are SEO copywriters. Some are conversion, some can do both. So you really need to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish with your website. So with outsourcing, there's several ways to do it. You can absolutely use Fiverr, Upwork. You can hire a freelancer, a small agency like us. There's large agencies out there. What I would stress to you is you can't know what you don't know. When I talk a lot about collaboration, I love to get on tech calls with people, and I have people that don't even hire me, which is fine with me. Sometimes I'm too full anyways, just so we can chat about what it is they're trying to accomplish. Maybe we do a strategy call together. So understand why you're doing what you're doing, what you want to accomplish, and how you're going to accomplish it. The worst thing you can do is to want to hire somebody to do something that you don't know squat diddly about. And you go into it with the, I don't know how to do this, please save me. Then you've hired somebody maybe that doesn't have your best interest at heart. You don't get what you want. You don't get what you need. And that's really frustrating. This same feeling sometimes happens to my clients who are hiring their first people. I've had this happen too. I get so busy and I'm like, somebody come save me. Like, get me a social media manager that knows their crap, and we'll just roll from there. And the problem is, if you're going to bring somebody on, you need to also understand that work at a thorough level. No social media manager on earth is going to come in and radically, amazingly, magically transform you into 0 leads into 1,000 leads a month. Not authentically. And you want it to be from you. And so it's going to take you. Remember, I always say marketing is about your connection with you. And so know that when you bring somebody on, at first, it is going to be work for you. I'm going to ask you a lot of hard questions, probably some that you're going to go, why are you asking me that? I'm going to want to get some stories out of your head. I'm probably going to ask you to write me some stories. I'm going to edit them. I'm going to fix them for you. I'm going to post them for you. But it takes a team effort. So as you're hiring, outsourcing, and considering this, The first tip I would say is, just like I talk about with buying something shiny like a new app, really analyze, why do I want this? What do I need this to accomplish? And are there any underlying feelings sitting in here that are yucky that I need to work with? Second, understand what level of expertise you have at this and then how much you can pay for it. Do you have enough expertise that you can hire a lower priced college student, for instance, and you can direct the work? You just need somebody to save you time. Or do you need an online business manager who can come into your business and look down things and go, I see how to fix this. And that person can streamline your client processes, your sales processes, and make all these beautiful systems. Or do you need the absolute expert that comes in and just takes over things? It's really important to think about those things. So to wrap up, we've talked about hiring your first person. We've talked about outsourcing, and we've talked about some top secrets. If you have any other questions, I really want to hear them. I had asked in the group some different questions, and I got some fun stuff that came up there too. So we'll continue the conversation in the Facebook group. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Go shine your light out there. It's easier than you think. Loved having you here today on the Attract Clients Now podcast. Hop on over to our private Facebook group for even more ways you can build your coaching or service-based business. So drop me some stars, subscribe, follow, whatever works best for you. And until next week, keep shining your light out there. And remember, it's easier than you think.